Barely 1 week after the National Assembly elections, with Independent National Electoral Commission (INEC) yet to issue certificates of return to winners, the race for principal officers, particularly the position of Senate President in the upper chamber, has begun. This day investigation revealed that the incumbent President of the Senate, Ahmed Lawan, and some senators-elect, Ojiuso Kalu, Barau Beni, Godswill Akpabio, Adams Oshiomhole, Abdulaziz Yari, and Dave Umahi, have started subtle campaign among their colleagues. Interestingly, the choice of the next Senate President will largely depend on the zoning of the office, among other principal offices, by the leadership of the ruling All Progressives Congress APC. Although expectations are high that the party leadership may zone the office of the number 3 citizen to the southeast as part of moves to pacify the Igbo, having missed out of the presidential contest in all parties at the time, the clamor for the president of Southeast extraction was high. It is a thinking that it is not yet cast in stone yet. If those considerations sail true, the current Senate Chief Whip Kalu, a former governor of Abia State, has the brightest chance as a ranking senator with cognitive experience from part of the country in APC. There's another school of thought that presupposes the need to pacify the Northwest by the way of acknowledging their contribution to the emergence of the president-elect, which may see the likes of Jibrin and Yari in the race for the Senate president. I mean, a lot to talk about this morning, are you?
Oh yes, the race is on and it's going to be very exciting. The 10th Assembly is going to be one that would possibly be remembered for a very long time to come, very politically diverse in terms of the number of seats that have been taken by different political parties. By June of this year, the 10th Assembly will be inaugurated. It's just important to note that whilst the elections have been done over the last weekend, not all the results have been given by INEC or have been announced by INEC. However, what we do know is that currently the APC has the large share of seats in both houses, upper and lower chambers. And it's also important to note that there are 7 political parties who are going to be represented in the 10th Assembly. We have the APC, we have the PDP, we have Labour Party, we have the SDP, we have YPP, we have ABGA, and there's one more, we have the NNPP. These are the parties that are going to be represented, even though, like I mentioned, the principal party currently is the APC. Also, it's important to note that, I mean, just general information for our viewers out there, we know 109 seats up in the Senate and 360 in the House of Representatives. And what usually happens in terms of the principal officers is that for the Senate and Deputy Senate President, it comes from the party with the most seats, in this case, the APC. So we've narrowed it down to that in terms of those seats. The other principal offices, you know, the Chief Whip, we have the Majority Leader, we have the Minority Leader, and others. But of course, the prize is the President of the Senate and the Deputy Senate President. Rufai, you mentioned some of the contenders or those who have been seen to be lobbying for this position. And it's important, some of the considerations I would imagine that the APC would be looking at would be, number one, of course, if they would be zoning that seat. There have been conversations around this because if they're going to zone, what people are assuming would happen is that it would be zoned to the southeast, bearing in mind that the president is from the southwest, the vice president is from the northeast, and so the number 3 man would want to be the seat would want to be zoned to the southeast, especially as well the agitations by the southeasterns that they haven't gotten into power since 1999. It was the elections, the last election really put them up there, especially with Mr. Peter Obi as well from the Labour Party, giving them a right run for the money. So what projections that there are is that it might be zoned. However, some people have also said that the president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, might want it to be a free and fair race. So anyone in the ring and anyone who is able to take it on. And if that's the case, then it's open to everyone, including the incumbent, Senator Ahmed Lawan, who's won his seat, as we all heard over the weekend, and then some other principal actors. Very interesting in there. So aside from zoning in terms of to the southeast, there's also religion, which will play a factor in who would emerge. Already, the APC is in a situation right now where it almost cost them their seats in terms of the presidency because of the Muslim ticket. A number of people brought this up as a challenge. And then don't forget the chairman of the party is Muslim as well. So they would want to be seen to be embracing, to be diverse. So it might also come up as a consideration as to who will emerge as Senate president. And finally, I do think also experience would come into play. Some of the people that we saw on there are first-time senators, even though some of them have served in public offices, like, Mr. Adams Oshiomhole has been the chairman of the APC. He's been two-time governor of Edo State, but it's his first time in the House. So would that be a disadvantage to him? And then we talk about Senator. The only person who seems to meet all these criteria I've talked about is Senator Orji Uzor Kalu, who is a two-time governor. He's been a two-time governor. He's been in the House. He's current chief whip. But it makes it even more interesting because it's not clear. It's not just, this person is definitely going to be the one. And we've seen what's happened in the past. There might be some surprises pulled off last minute. Is this going to happen? Interesting race, but I must mention again that they are still Senator and House of Representatives elect. And until June 2023, before we, when it's inaugurated, before we then can begin to speak about principal officers.
Well, it's in typical, fashion in Nigerian politics. The election is not yet fully resolved. Already people are jostling for position of the Senate President, of the Deputy Senate President, and other positions within the National Assembly. And that's just to tell you, that politics in Nigeria is all about self-positioning. It's never about what, the average politician wants to do for the people. So we have seen playing out in this jostling for principal positions in the National Assembly, the same selfish interest of the political elite. The second point to be made in this regard is that we are hoping that the leadership of the National Assembly, of the 10th National Assembly, will not behave like the 9th National Assembly, which from day one advertised itself, announced itself as a rubber stamp National Assembly. Although that National Assembly recorded some achievements, maybe perhaps with the Discrimination Against Persons with Disabilities Prohibition Act, maybe with the passing of the Electoral Act 2022, maybe with coming up with about 44 clauses that will be amended in the Constitution. But generally, it wasn't a very robust National Assembly. It was a yes man, yes sir, kind of National Assembly. The purpose of the legislature is to make laws for peace, stability, and the good governance of the country. And we are hoping that when that 10th National Assembly convenes in June, that it will be a different kind of assembly that will be more robust, that will be more productive. The only problem we have in this regard is that many of the personalities that have been mentioned are the same culprits of whatever it is that we are alleging. In terms of the factors that will play out, well, it's a no-brainer that with the chairman of the party being a Muslim, with the presidential candidate, the president-elect being a Muslim, with the vice president-elect being a Muslim, it will be difficult for the party to zone the leadership of the National Assembly to a Muslim. So that's a no-brainer. It's in your face kind of consideration. But at the end of the day, it's a party that will use its own zoning formula. So it's what the party decides, how the party decides to zone it. And the speculation that the APC may want to pacify the Southeast and zone it to the Southeast, well, it may make sense on the surface of it, but it could also be zoned also to the South-South. And in that regard, one factor that may work in favor of someone from the South-South would be a person like Adams Oshiomhole, who is one of the persons we're told is showing interest. He has relevant experience, he has cognate experience, and he's been governor 2 times, he's been chairman of the APC, and he seems to be a very strong ally of the president-elect. I imagine that the president-elect will have a major say in who emerges. He will prefer a leadership of the National Assembly that he can work with. Definitely, I don't see Ahmad Lawan, despite the fact that he was president of the 9th Assembly, getting the required support. If it is the Southeast, where Senator Orji Uzor Kalu has been openly, supportive of the, the politics of Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, but at the end of the day, it is the party that will zone the positions and that will agree. But as I've said, what the parties decide to do at the end of the day is their business. What is more important is the purpose of the legislature and the kind of National Assembly that we expect. All of these elected National Assembly members, how many of them have been talking about legislative agenda? If you even look at their record, Nigeria is one country where we don't even know how our lawmakers vote. In other places, they have electronic voting system whereby you can assess a senator on the basis of performance and how the lawmaker voted. Here, what we hear is that the person has been in the National Assembly for a long time. So the being for a long time, staying for long in the National Assembly is no qualification. We should begin, it's not enough to just say this is a ranking senator. No, how did that particular senator perform? And I hope that both the party and the Nigerian public will be more interested in the quality of the person, not a yes sir kind of a Senate president or Speaker of the House of Reps who will come around again and tell us that anything the president wants is what they will do. No, their commitment should be to the Nigerian people. And that's why I think this jostling is premature.
I think the Nigerian people have opened their eyes now to see that for a country to work, the people must play active role in governance. And people that emerge, they must know. So apart from the jostling for the Senate president, one other thing too I'd like you to look at a process and scrutinize will be when there will be vacancies in the Supreme Court and the Supreme Court judges will have to be filled up. Who will be the people nominated? What is the antecedents? What do they stand for? We have to start looking at these things and debating them strongly because that's how a country works. I'm not surprised what is happening. It is the same our own political class. It's always about what is in it for them. How can they suit their ego? How can they massage their ego? It is never about you and me. And that's why the truth is, the Nigerian people, please, when you go out to vote, also think of who can make your life better. Because in the grand scheme of things, for those that talk about tribalism, hope you remember that inflation does not know tribe. I went to the supermarket yesterday and I was shocked at what was happening with the price of things. I'm not surprised what is happening, like I said before. 3 regions are up for this. Probably after it's gone to the north, I think the APC will want to look south. So it's going to be between the southeast and the south-south. That's what I reckon very strongly. And it's going to be pretty much a 3-horse race. I'm looking at an Orji Uzor-Kalu there. I'm looking at an Oshiomhole and looking at a Godswill Akpabio. Where will it tilt will be dependent on the arrangement the party makes and where they decide to go. Obviously, those 3 people passed the religion test because of the Muslim antecedents now. And owing to the fact that Senate President had always been zoned to the east before, to the southeast before, and you remember people like Adolphus Wabara, Ayim Pius, Ayim Evan Enwerem at a point in the past. So going back to the southeast will also be a clear agenda, but also they will say, okay, we can have a departure. It's never gone to the south-south in recent times. So, question is, where will it go from here? What which will be dependent on will be a lot of factors, like people have said. But it will be about who can work with the president, who is closer to the president-elect. Also, are we going to have surprises like the time of Bukola Saraki, that the party unanimously wanted Ahmed Lawan, but Bukola Saraki played a fast one on them, told them that there was a meeting somewhere, and most of the senators, when before they came to the chamber, elections had been done? But what will be the problems on ground for this new House of Assembly? It will be about the issues of securitization of the loans of Ways and Means. You talked about a legislative agenda, Dr. Abati. That's one of them. Till today, Ahmed Lawan had just passed that case over as regards the Senate sitting on the securitization of the Ways and Means, because interest is growing on that Ways and Means money. So what has been the decision made? I doubt if they're going to do anything, but hey, maybe they might do something before this term expires. But from June, if they have not done anything, that will be a very prominent factor, securitization of Ways and Means. So I understand we need to go to the next story, but Nigerian people, please shine your eye. You have a stake in all of this. The People's Democratic Party, PDP, Atiku Abubakar, yesterday lambasted the chairman of the Independent National Electoral Commission, INEC, Professor Mahmood Yakub, describing his promise to deliver credible governorship election next Saturday as medicine after death. Atiku also called on Yakubu's assurances worthless and said they were unconvincing, adding they were a belated attempt at face saving after conducting the worst election in Nigeria's history. The former vice president spoke in a statement by Special Assistant on Public Communication, Mr. Frank Troibo. The statement came as the leadership of the People's Democratic Party and its Presidential Campaign Council, PCC, said they were searching and consulting for a legal team that will handle the petition of Atiku's petition at the Presidential Tribunal. The party said filing of the petition will start immediately after the inspection of election materials. Yakubu, at a meeting with the Resident Electoral Commissioners, REC, promised to ensure strict use of bimodal voter accreditation system, BVAS, during the remaining polls. He said INEC staff found to be negligent during the presidential election will be barred from participating in the March 11 governorship elections. Ayo, what say you on this?
All right, okay, so Frank Troibo speaking on behalf of his principal, or releasing a statement and talking about the fact that this is medicine after death. First of all, let's even analyze Professor Yakub's statement. Unfortunately, sir, the reason why this is difficult to believe is that you failed on a number of things that you said prior to the presidential elections. One of which was the use of BVAS being the game changer and IREV for immediate transmission of results from the polling unit to IREV and the INEC server field. Second was also the joint statement from INEC and security operatives assuring Nigerians that they've done everything to ensure that people can go out and exercise their franchise securely field. Third point, during the collations, talking about addressing issues that some political parties had brought up and that he'd address it before the end field. So when you speak and unfortunately it's consistently not adhered to, then you lose integrity and people don't take your word for what it is. But for the sake of argument, because we want Nigerians to come out to vote on Saturday. We saw what happened last weekend, irrespective of how some voters were suppressed. We saw the change. Look at what's happening with politicians and political parties, literally begging for your votes and ensuring that some of them apologizing for what they've done. It means that your vote has power, and they've seen that the political architecture of Nigeria has changed for the better. And so these are the lessons I'm hoping the INEC chair can learn. So medicine after death, the past is gone. It's in courts now, some of them. But for Saturday, here's what we're looking forward to, Professor Yakub. Number one, actually transmit results. So let it be a free, fair, credible, and transparent process for all Nigerians. We want that assurance, and not just words, but actions. Number two, security. Some Nigerians are a bit afraid, that's putting it mildly, to go out to exercise their franchise because they are not sure, especially from the things we've heard, threats here and there. Let's ensure that Nigerians are secure when they go out to vote on Saturday. Number three is the INEC staff. I'd mentioned it prior to the presidential elections as to there should be a way where we can, on the spot, report officers, presiding officers of certain polling units who are compromising that unit immediately. There should be a reporting mechanism or channel that should be done. And of course, the biggest one, which is logistics. I'm sure we can do better. I hope we have learned lessons from the last election, that we'll start elections on time on Saturday and that materials will get to their destinations in one piece and on time as well.
Well, you don't expect the People's Democratic Party to have flowers or praise for the INEC chairman. Hence, in the statement issued by the People's Democratic Party, we've been told that this is medicine after death, when the INEC chairman says the process will be seamless, smooth on March 11. You don't expect PDP to say anything other than that this is a face-saving move after what PDP calls the shambolic election that INEC organized on February 25. PDP is also saying that is the INEC chairman now coming forward to say INEC ad hoc staff and INEC staff will be trained in 5 days, something that the Electoral Commission could not do within the space of months. And so when the point is made by international observers that the election conducted by INEC does not meet expectations, it's not just the PDP that is protesting. The Labour Party is protesting. The NMPP is protesting. The PDP and the Labour Party have already approached the Court of Appeal, which functions as the election tribunal in presidential elections, to seek the leave of court to inspect election materials. The NMPP has issued a statement to say that it is not in alliance with any party for the March 11 election. Today, the PDP is staging a black uniform protest in Abuja at the INEC headquarters. There will be a procession, we're told, from the party headquarters, Legacy House in Maitama, all the way to INEC headquarters, to be led by chairman of the party, Iyorchia Ayu, and vice presidential candidate of the party, Senator Ifeanyi Okowa. So that's what you find here. But what is instructive is that these political parties have said they are going to court. They've gone to court. They are going to file their petitions. And this is the appeal by everybody that, look, use legal means. Don't take the law into your hands. And I'm hoping that the procession today in Abuja by the PDP will be peaceful, completely peaceful. Now, as for INEC promising that it would do well on March 11, well, it's not just about INEC. What will INEC do about those results that were not uploaded onto BVAS, those results that were found in the bush, the allegations of discrepancies? How would INEC prevent that? The INEC chairman is promising that BVAS will work this weekend. Why did it not work last weekend? Not enough explanation has been given other than the statement by Festus Okoye that this was a case of technical glitches. What constitutes the technical glitches, Nigerians have not been properly carried along. And it's not just INEC alone. The security agencies, part of their responsibility is not just to maintain law and order on election day. It's also to put an eye on INEC officials. When INEC officials were allegedly falsifying the results, where was the security agencies? Where were they? They were nowhere to be found. Finally, since we are in Lagos, since this is our base, I think Lagos election, this March 11, is beginning to show a certain pattern that everybody should be worried about. In the last 2 days, the candidate of the Labour Party has been under severe attacks on the grounds that he is not a Lagosian. And yet this is a candidate whose great-grandparent fought in World War I, or was it World War II, whose grandfather was a justice, whose father is a justice. But they say, people say, yes, the Roosevelt may have been in Lagos Island forever. But how come his father is married to an Igbo woman? He too is also married to an Igbo woman. And people have been saying he has Igbo blood. They don't want him. That kind of politics of ethnicity is to be condemned, is to be deplored. Because after all, the people who say they are in the APC and all that, some of them too are married to people from outside the Yoruba land. Mm-hmm. So has anybody accused Tinubu, the president-elect, of being married to an Ishekiri woman? So this is, part of the things we have to avoid. We must have peace in Lagos because we live here. We are making a case for peace and also all over Nigeria.
In a book or in a collection of essays titled Letters and Social Aim, one of my favorite writers of all time, Ralph Waldo Emerson, said something profound. I think you should go read Social Aim. Emerson said, "What you do speaks so loud, I can't hear what you say." And that's my reaction to the INEC chairman today. What you have done in the last election has spoken so loud that we cannot hear what you say as regards the use of BVAS any longer. What you have done has spoken so loud that we can't trust even when you say you use the BVAS or the IRF. Because as of today, please, everybody go and check the IRF portal. He has not even completed the uploading of the results. Out of 176,000 polling units, they've just uploaded 162,000 polling units. So before the INEC chief can say they will use BVAS, he should go and complete the uploading the result first before he comes to talk afterwards. Integrity builds a nation. And stand up tall for integrity. Because in the days we don't stand up tall, then definitely there's a comeuppance for all of us. I asked pertinent questions here the other day. I said, as INEC sorted out his IRF, his BVAS, hope will not have challenges, but all the things I talked about came to pass because work was not done. truth has to be said. He's now saying that members of staff that are found negligent should be pushed out of the system. But when I asked the INEC official here that did they do their security background check on all their ad hoc staff, did they have a coherent response? No. I keep telling people, never ascribe to malice what you can explain with incompetence. And a society that values privilege over virtue will lose it all. So there is a time for INEC to redeem itself. Let's see if they will do it in these elections. But a lot of people, like Ralph Waldo Emerson has said, what they have done has spoken so loud that people, are not ready to hear what they're going to say any longer. And it's just a sad reality of our system.